And, you mentioned the fact that, we don't have, people aren't organized enough to kind of make their political foothold necessary. But that seems to me to be sort of or that political agency powerful, I should say. But that seems to be this kind of circular kind of thing that comes up again and again on the show. Well, we can't really invest that much in politics. We don't have the organizing mechanisms together to actually run a candidate or to, withhold labor in a way that's meaningful or to have a general strike, et cetera. But also we're not going to, it's like, so what happens first? Also, the labor unions are captured, and there's business labor unionism, and they're not willing. The big powerful unions aren't willing to take a hit to the coffers and actually do a wildcat strike. I mean, it's around and around and around, and it feels to me on some level like it's a great line of argument to get people demobilized and disaffected. So
Right.
what's the off ramp?
Well, I think it's the popular mobilization, which can impact all the things you mentioned. The scoundrel politicians or the scoundrel labor union leaders. Uh, I, I, s- I go back to that. That's what's always moved the needle is the popular action first. And I think if we keep that in mind and talk about how to do that, and I think that's the hard part, because it's been a long time since that happened. So the people who've done that, if they're still around, they're older. They're people who want to really, really want to see change, are very serious about it, but don't have any guidance about how to make that happen. That is the thing. If I was going to say there was anything that's lacking, I think that's it. We saw a glimmer of it 3 years ago with the protests after George Floyd was killed. I think it petered out. I think because it was a presidential election year, I think that took a lot of the oxygen out of the room, unfortunately. But that tells us on the positive side, there are millions of people who do want change. They just need to know how to do it. And that's not an easy question to answer, but I think in just pondering the question, I think we will come up with some answers.
But Margaret, it's 2023. It's it's time again.
Yes, it is. It's always
And
time.
we're saying, what we're basically saying is, at a certain point it seems to me like even people within the left are similarly at fault and to blame for the failure to have changed a single thing about the dynamic between then and now. I got to tell you, a lot of folks accuse me of being overly invested in electoralism, or that, I guess the line should be that one should ignore the fact of politics happening around you, not try to use it to your advantage, that somehow it's like a valor issue, like I'm a better leftist to not care at all what's happening in the national election cycle that is going to have an effect on all of our lives. But it's not like it's not like there's an alternative place to put one's energy. People say organize. Okay, I'll have organizers on. We'll talk about. I'm so excited about what Shama Sawant is doing with Worker Strike Back. And I think that her kind of realization that there's a kind of limits to what can be achieved in the political realm, and that a shift toward organizing is useful and helpful is great too. But I'm also thinking about conversations that I've had with, for example, Ralph Nader, someone who does come from an earlier generation of politics, who talked about, the ways that they used to exploit political stunts to try to get headlines and to create awareness about various issues. You know, and I think about the moment we're in. I think about what 2020 was like. I think about you saying, people weren't willing to do much with that because it was election year. And it's like, are we really saying that in the year of our Lord 2023, there's not a single influential Black person in America who's willing to say, it doesn't matter if the other side wins, you absolutely cannot vote for Joe Biden? Or here are the following conditions for my participation in the Democratic election, in the national election this year. You're telling me that in the entire country, there's not an old guard figure, there's not an Angela
Well,
Davis,
let me.
there's not a
Wow.
Brittany Plaskett,
But
There's not a
well, let me just say Angela
there's not a
Davis always
Cornell West.
Angela Davis is voting for Democrats. I'm not sure she's the is always
I mean,
telling us we have to. I don't know if
I
she's the
I
best
think
name,
I no, but
but
that's why
I
I'm
see.
bringing her up. I certainly don't think
Yes,
Brittany Plaskett is a revolutionary in this mode either. But that's exactly my point.
yeah.
Like, to the extent that those people are also part of the problem, that doesn't seem to be a conversation that's very widely had either. I mean, do people like? Let me ask you this: do people like the reporters at the Griot or some of these more mainstream Black publications, the Roland Martins of the world, ever reach out to Black Agenda Report or open themselves up to dialogue with Black leftists?
No, no, they don't, which is fine actually, because if they did, it would be a very bad sign to me. So that's fine with me. I'm good with that. I think there's a couple of problems. I think it's
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. Although it's doubling as an RBN live episode, I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? Welcome to Nick and CJ Tuesday. Right now, Mark Kimberly based friend of the show as always. Mark Kimberly need to be boosted at any opportunity. It's great to see her on at many different platforms. She's a very, very powerful, very intellectual voice, and one that we definitely deeply respect. Just like the Jama who we just had on, Margaret Kimberly needs to be boosted, and you need to side eye the people who don't boost her. So big props for Bree, and these conversations are important. And that's what Bad Faith Podcast, I think they do that pretty well. That they are willing to have conversations about strategy, whether we agree or not, have different kind of voices on. And she get in trouble for that too. Like she'll like bring a right wing voice on or whatever. But these are kind of strategy debates that have been avoided for and pretty much like brushed off as not even big deal, not even worth discussing. Like that's the 5%. We agree on 95%, CJ.
Yeah,
You want to
we've
strategy
been
like
dispelling that.
Go ahead, CJ.
I was just saying we've been dispelling that whole. We agree on a lot of most things. We don't actually. We don't actually agree on most things. Like what they mean to say is on the pop culture things that the left wants, we agree, and they're just simply talking about $15 minimum wage, money out of politics, these types of things. It's Medicare for all. This is the type of stuff that they're talking about, and we're talking about dismantling the state. We're talking about taking military spending down to zero. That's the type of thing we're talking about. Abolishing the police state. We're talking about turning over the means and mode of production to the proletariat. That's what we're talking about. You get what I'm saying? And they're not at all talking about that.
And their analysis on the current state that we are in, the urgency, and who they are advocating for is completely different. So when we say that, like us as members of the Black community, poor income, low income Black people, there's no victory for us in the Democrat or Republican Party. You guys understand? And that's why there's this big disconnect, because that's why once again I asked Voss, like, should Black people vote for their oppressors? And the position on the white left is yes, of course. You guys are only 13% of the population. You guys got to make a sacrifice for the greater good, and that is not the strategy that we need for liberation. And Black people listening to these people have been led off a cliff. This incrementalist two-party approach has only damaged and hurt our community. Black boomers they forfeited all political power that we had for decades by voting Democrat 89% of the time. So when people talk about why you even advocating for third party, I was making my argument loudest on Twitter. These people, a lot of people can't really challenge it, because I said Black people need to establish their own self-determination, have an unwavering policy demands, and ignore the mainstream bullshit corporate approach to politics, because it has not been working. And I'm gonna show you guys the result of that, because there's a story that is written every 2 years. I know we covered this in the midterms. I don't know if you remember, but I'm gonna show you a story that's gonna sound very familiar. And if you pay attention, there's a story every election cycle that hit. Black voters are upset Democrats made promises and they didn't keep the promises. Every 2 years they write this story.
The same story.
Then black, quote unquote, and I cannot emphasize the quote enough, quote unquote, black progressives advocate for us to do the same thing again. Black people forfeit all their power, and then they're scratching their heads every 2 years, like, oh my God, why don't we have a black agenda? Why are we sending COVID relief funds to the police? Why are they building Cop City? Why is Eric Adams and many Democratic mayors waging war against homeless population, the black community, implementing civil asset forfeiture and stealing our wealth? All these damn questions. I'm gonna show you guys the tragedy of what happens when you pay attention to black electoral politics every 2 years. And
but to your point, Nick, before you get to the article, to your point, we have to understand the clip that we played many times with Michael Brooks and Vivek Chibber, where he says the left is overwhelmingly middle class. Yep. So, and he says, but it's all white. He was like, no, that's not it. It's disproportionately white, but the people who are in the left that are middle class, they're also of all races, and that's who you're talking about right now. That's telling us to vote for the Democratic Party. The people that, yes, there are people who are already in. They're not in the working class. They are in the middle class.
There's Barack Obama, Al Sharpton. It's not new, guys.
Right.
You make
right, but there's no poor people. There's no poor advocates saying this about it. There's no poor black advocate. I should say that. There's no poor black advocate. There's no working class black advocate that's saying, "Hey, let's go lay down for Joe Biden without getting anything." Only
CJ, to that point,
already have stuff. Go
CJ,
ahead.
To that point, you know how they got the story? They did what they never do. They went to ordinary black people. They got a few lib quotes, but then a few ordinary black people was like, nah, man, I'm tired of Joe Biden fucking lying to us, bro. Like, I'm tired of this shit.
Okay,
so
I gotta hear this
they actually ask real black people, this story comes out every single time. Whenever they ask actual young working class black people, you get stories like, man, Black America actually leading the way towards socialism. So they don't talk about it. We are ignored as a bloc. We've been ignored by the independent left. RBN is bringing voice to the black working class that the boutique left has never heard before, and it makes them uncomfortable. It makes Karens uncomfortable in the white left media sphere because of the arguments that we're making. When we bring up the fact that you guys are voting for a racist segregationist, someone who's responsible for more death and destruction in the black community than any public official alive right now, is Jim Crow Joe in my lifetime. And I was making this argument loud as someone who's part of the Bernie campaign, who was before otherwise accepted in their community. And I said, you guys are your goddamn mind. If I'm going to vote for him and I'm going to accept our movement vote for him, and they kicked me out, they said, oh my God, fuck that Negro making points about his community, about the pain that we are suffering. We can't have that. That's how Cal Kalinske, Marianne Wilson, Crystal Ball, and the Conspiracy and Cenk Uygur do a dance and say everything's great about electoral politics. That was before RBN. That was before. You see all these new black independent media outlets, Black Power Media as well. Now it's not singing the praises of Joe Biden. We had two blacks singing the praise of Joe Biden. It's common. Are these people praising the Joe Biden? No, it's only the Cory Bush, Jamal Bowman left. These are the people that are accepted among the white left, and RBN has had enough, and we're deemed toxic for it. Because we're telling you that your guys' strategy had led to these stories being written. Because they was upset because I said I refuse to support any movement. I'm not only voting for Joe Biden, but any movement that's down with this shit, I'm done. That was a hard quit for me. I'm done. And look at this. Nearly a year in, I'm gonna show you guys a series of headlines because there's one that just came out.
This is funny.
There's one that just came out because you got the 2024 elections coming up. So every election cycle, this story is written. So let me see what the date on this one. This was written December 2021. So this is before the midterms. So I told you every election. So this is before the midterms. Nearly a year in, black people aren't sold on Biden, but they haven't given up either. So I'm gonna show you guys a story from today, which proves the point that you probably should have fucking gave up on him. if you didn't. The administration touts accomplishments, but it hasn't delivered on voting rights and police reform. They don't even bring up the real crimes of the Biden administration either. And I was talking to Ajamu about this when he replied to my Twitter thread. The funny thing about the story is they don't even bring up like the fact that you guys are building a police state, sending COVID relief funds to the police, propping up Wall Street, doing the Willow Project, poisoning our communities, funding the police. Like, you guys have been mentioning our criticism, but even based on Black reformist liberal politics, they still giving you guys the middle. He's still giving you the middle finger because you guys gave away all your political power like cucks. Sorry, I can say it because if other leftists that see the same thing that RBN does say it like the way I do, they'll obviously get fucking attacked.
Yeah, they
but
can't use the same vernacular.
We need to have a hard conversation about this. We need to wake people up. Why do we gotta read this goddamn headline every 2 years? So this is 2021. This is July 2022. You see, we going in order. I wonder how many times that Van Jones had to break this story down before it clicks between him and his class. It's not, because class cannot be reconciled through electoral politics, and their class loyalty is stronger than their connection with their race. They're a capitalist first, and they're Black second. All these loyalist Democrats. That's
why they can go to these communities and use their likeness or allow their likeness to be used to cultivate poor Black voters when them motherfuckers know. Al Sharpton, go in the neighborhood, get the voters. He knows what he's telling them. It's not going to happen. He's been dealing with the Democrats long enough to know that, Nick, what he's telling these Black people in these communities, he know it's a lie. He know it's not going to happen, but yet he still does it. Van Jones is another one. All of these Black, like I said, they're like you just put the point that you just made. It's class first for them. And the reason it's class first for them, just self-preservation, is because the class part, Nick, is what's having them live well, not the Black part. The class part is what's having them live in a nice home, what's having them, not have to be subjugated to police violence or the likelihood of police violence at the same rate that of a you or me or somebody even more disadvantaged. So that's what it is. They're selling the Sal W.E.B. Du Bois talks about this. This is nothing new at all. This is nothing new at all.
So you want to see the loyalty of the Black capitalist class to their own?
I remember this. This is
Arsenio Hall. And I want you, and this is, he helped Bill Clinton get elected, and he helped manufacture consent for the guy who signed the crime bill. But before he became a big presidential candidate, you realize that there was a scandal with the Clinton because they had slaves in the Arkansas governor office, right? They rely on slave labor.
Right.
But Arsenio Hall was like, nigga, play that saxophone.
But think about how, because this was set up in order for him to even come on the show, Nick. Oh, look at this. Let me listen to this first.
Yeah, you can talk over. I was just playing in the background.
No, but this brings back memories. I remember seeing this, how big this was. But to think about how what this had to be set up, and Arsenio had to agree to this whole setup of him bringing a saxophone. But think about Hillary Clinton's hot sauce remark, bringing a hot sauce out of her purse, and think about this. Think about what they think the bait for Black people is.
Yeah,
some hot sauce and some music. Them niggas can dance. They got rhythm. Give them some music and then put Bill Clinton on the saxophone, and that's it. He's the closest thing to a Black president. That's what we had these rich Black capitalists or wannabe capitalists like Arsenio Hall saying. This is what they were saying after this. He's the closest thing to a Black president. How ridiculous is that?
Ridiculous. I remember that so clearly.
Signed the 1994 crime bill, but he's the closest thing to a Black president. Ridiculous. Go ahead.
And Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton played a big role on the increase of child poverty because of their welfare reforms, which targeted the Black community. They are directly responsible for a drastic increase in Black child poverty. And not because of that, because they deregulated Wall Street. You had all these harsh neoliberal policies that Bill Clinton, he's really like, and there was a great analysis that was done. I'm blank. I want to say about Glenn Ford, but I don't want to mistake it. But someone actually said that people talk about Reagan, but Bill Clinton got everything done that Reagan couldn't.
No,
I got to remember
what,
who wrote that. It was a great analysis.
So what Reagan did, why they're kind of different. What Reagan did, he did more illegal shit that was bad. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was behind a lot, Iran Contra. He was behind a lot of illegal shit that was bad, getting drugs into the community. So that's why I would put him. But Bill Clinton, and I've said this in the stream before, is a close second because people don't understand the deregulation of media. Don't ask, don't tell. 1994 crime bill. He had signed another bill right before that. I forget the name of the bill. Bill Clinton is the one who actually put legislation into motion. Terrible president.
And that was, I had to make sure I was right. That was before he won the presidency. And Bill Clinton played the saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show. Then the next day, his rating jumped 21%. And then he went on to win the 1992 presidential election. So one of these black capitalist Negroes is directly responsible for one of the most violent, destructive presidents being elected. You guys see where my problems lie right now?
And why they're still saying it's not the time. They're still saying it's not the time to ask for what we want.
Still saying it. And this is a great tweet. And liberals going to call this guy a coon, deplorable, because this is a black conservative. I just looked, who I'm sure we'll disagree on a lot. But I'm going to read this tweet and tell me what the fuck you disagree with. Bill Clinton created a playbook of how Democrats use music and popular culture to brainwash black voters. Check. 1 for 1 so far.
I just said that. I didn't even know you were going to read this. I haven't seen this tweet. That was
I actually found this very shortly before preparing this story.
Okay.
By playing an instrument on Arsenio Hall's show, he tricked black people into thinking he was cool. Once again, black conservatives, 2 for 2. I'm sure I disagree with this guy on a ton. On his analysis of Bill Clinton, 100% correct. 2 for 2 right here. And at one time he was called the first black president. Once elected, he signed the 1994 crime bill. This is a black conservative outflanking liberals. Because the black conservative like, man, I'm sure I disagree with this dude on ton. But even he like, man, I can't believe y'all motherfuckers supported him. And trust me, guys, if I talk to this guy, I can always easily just turn around like, bro, if you support Republicans, you're supporting new versions of the crime bill. Like, niggas, calm down. But based on this point, and we don't want to distract from the point, he is 100% right about Bill Clinton, and that what Arsenio Hall did. That what black celebrities did. You had Jay-Z, P. Diddy, all these fucking coons. They was out here saying, vote or die in 2004. For John Kerry, the guy who didn't say we should end the war in Iraq, he said that George W. Bush did a bad job managing it. You guys know that's why he lost. Like he was like, oh my God, George Bush and Republicans, they were making tactical errors. That was their argument.
Yeah.
Now
he's the climate guy.
Black vote was like, vote or die. Vote or die. Like our fucking lives depend on that election. You guys see the problem, how their class always comes first? They 100% want to do propaganda for these people. Jay-Z and Obama holding concert for Barack Obama.
That's the deal, Nick. That's the deal for them to be able to, for him. Do you think if Jay-Z's a billionaire because he's allowed to be a billionaire?
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? It don't matter how many billions a black person has, Nick. You still don't have the weight. There's an exchange rate for your skin, nigga. It don't matter. Like, there's an exchange rate. It's not worth the same. It gets you into the same places, but it never is because black money, black billions still got to ask white power structure to do anything, you dumb fuck. You just got a lot of money to exploit people. That's it.
And you see the people who fuck up, like Eddie Griffin. Still one of the funniest comics of his era, but he got shut. He talks about it very openly. He remember he was on. He had a lot of big movie
podcast
roles.
too.
Undercover Brother. Undercover Brother. He was the next big thing, but he wouldn't shut the fuck up about his grievances with the establishment, right? And I don't agree with him on everything, but he wanted people that wouldn't shut to Hollywood. Got shut out.
Yeah, he's completely non-establishment. Yeah.
Most Def.
He was
getting movie deals. Great up and coming rapper. All of a sudden, this motherfucker called out George Bush for blowing up the towers and his war crimes. All of a sudden, cut off in the industry.
Yeah.
So if you see someone successful, I'm looking at all those people and I'm rolling my eyes. I cannot stand celebrity worship. I spare you guys because I talk about it all the time. I cannot stand it. You had Lil Wayne, who friendly with Trump. He endorsed Trump, and a lot of black people are like, oh my God, Lil Wayne endorsed Trump. How dare you? I'm like, I am not fucking surprised. Lil Wayne is not Lil Wayne unless he does shit like endorsing Donald Trump. You guys understand?
Right.
That's the least surprising shit ever to me. Their class loyalty is strong. Once you understand Marxist critique, what happens in the world makes way more sense. People without Marxist analysis, they go around like, oh my God, Jay-Z the traitor, Lil Wayne betrayed us. They had no idea what the fuck going on.
They are only black people are only Colin Powell, or these people are only allowed to ascend to these places by proving they will sell out over. You'll get another promotion if you have to prove. You think what's his name? Lloyd Austin got to where he is just by just over. No, he has proven he will sell out his community over and over. Everybody, Don Lemon, all of them. Doctor, the dude on MSNBC, what's his name? He came on my number one list.
Right?
No, Dr. Jamal.
All the same people.
Yeah, the one that said something about Brie calling her the island of black misfits.
And then that guy with the afro, that professor with the afro as Dr. Cornel West.
I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Dr. Cornel West, he get denied tenure from Harvard, but the guy with the black academic with the afro, who is just a shit lib, the liberals love him. He get on MSNBC all the time. You want to know why they love him? Because after every single fucking shooting out there, like, this is why we need to disarm people. Instead of calling for disarming the police and the military industrial complex and the people that killing us, he out here like, man, we need to disarm the working class. That's why they love him. Do you think the Black Panthers will agree with them? Do you think Malcolm X will agree with them? No. They're like, you guys see the blatant abandonment of the black radical position. And people look at us like we're crazy for pointing it out. I'm glad our generation see through it, though. That's how the RBN communities that will thrive. I started this network because not only is it our cast of us, but there's many black leftists that have been shut out. The least represented people in U.S. political discourse. But anyway, let's continue this. And the funny thing, people don't even realize it too, because they will see like, what are you talking about, Nick? Lloyd Austin, defense secretary. You had the first black president. People think that black liberalism is equal to black radicalism. And that shows how the United States is the most propagandized country. Black radical politics in the name of Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, MLK has been the most abandoned and underrepresented in the United States political discourse, period. Anyway, I'll spare you guys. But anyway, let me continue this story. And I'm going to show you guys exactly why that is. I'm going to show you guys the failure of the black liberal strategy, the black incrementalist strategy. This story written every year. This is one they were written before the midterms. This is the one written after the midterms. Why black voters are frustrated with Biden and what he can do about it every year. And I'm sure if I type black voters 2018, I'll find a story before then because I see it every time. Every year you get this story. I wonder, and I used to be naive. I see these stories. I'm like, damn, is it time? Are we going to leave? Black voters upset about Hillary Clinton. Yes, we're going to do it. Nope. Very upsetting. 2018, black voters upset. Are we going to leave? Nope. You know why? Because get the black celebrities out there. They start cooning for them. We got an album. Dick Ryan Obama. Bro, Boondocks killed it. They called it. Anyway, let me continue. Black voters are frustrated with Biden. What he can do about it. That was by Van Jones. Wonder if he changed his mind on that. Now, this is the most recent headline. I found this. It was written maybe 5-6 days ago. It's in the New York Times, so that's why I had to put a snippet out. And I said, Ice Cube. Anyway, let me read the headline first, and I'll give my take. As Biden runs again, black voters' frustration bubbles. So that's 3 years, CJ, which is bubbling. In 2020, frustrations bubble. Just bubbling every goddamn year. What's going to happen, guys? I know what's going to happen. I don't want it to happen. We're gonna try our best to organize and try to get many black people outside the two-party duopoly as possible, but we gotta face the harsh reality that we only got 30,000 subscribers. So we're gonna put all these videos out. We may get 1 million views with them all combined, and then Beyonce gonna release one fucking commercial, 25,000, 25 million views. Drowned out. All the black people all on board. I do not want that to happen, but I've seen this pattern. I'm 31 years old. My soul has been blackened over this shit over the years, guys. RBN, why are you so negative? They say in the suburbs. They say with healthcare. They said with no one in the family with medical debt. Why are you guys so angry? Why are RBN so angry? Anyway, let's read this. I already said black voter frustration bubbles. In interviews, black voters, organizers, and elected officials pointed to what some saw as unkept promises. What does this sound like? What does it sound like? Literally the last two headlines I just read you. But they did it again. Another year without keeping their promises. And they're like, oh, shame on you, Biden. Will you please promise to keep your promises this year? Biden like, nah, vote for me or you're not black, Jack. Sorry, I'm laughing because this shit's painful. I told you guys many times before. This is the only way I can cope with this shit, man. Like, this is
it's because we know. It's because we know none of these things are going to change. People know this. People that are checked out of the system. Those people they may have been in the system, but they realize, look, man, I voted 10 years. Nothing really changed. All the presidents changed. My life doesn't change. Capital is capital. Capital rules the day, like whatever party, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it doesn't really make, doesn't really make a tangible difference. And that's the people RBN is tapping into. We're, like you say all the time, why are we trying to convince these partisans? I'm not trying to convince no fucking partisan. We're convincing the people that don't vote. The people that don't participate in it, the people that know that this is a freaking scam, that's the people who we gonna tap into. So when you say, aren't we burning bridges with so-called leftists? No, those people are never gonna do anything. You understand that? Ever.
Yep.
They're too rich. Go ahead, Nick.
And I know I'm a nitpicky motherfucker. But look at the framing here. And I watched some analysis on these stories that are coming out. And the liberal always like, man, does this mean black enthusiasm is gonna drop? That's always the first concern. They're not concerned that the Democrats not doing shit. They don't care about concern. Their concern is, damn, black people enthusiasm is dropping. We gotta find a way to trick them again. So I'm a nitpicking motherfucker. This is why I read. And John will bring this up as well. There are complaints of just reformism. And what they're saying is, man, will black people suck it up? Or will they cost us an election? And they always, and we covered this before the midterm, they blame black voters. Well, black men are shifting to the Republican Party. Black people, are they going to cost us the election? Meanwhile, white women vote for Republicans every fucking election. There are no questions like that towards them. So it just kind of frustrates me. But we almost at the end here. So I'll read the sub-headline again. They said they pointed to what some saw as unkept promises, raising questions about the enthusiasm of Democrats' most loyal voters. That's the question. How enthusiastic are they? Not, hey man, let's investigate what the black voters are saying. Is that true? Biden, not we're gonna hold Biden accountable for their claims. It just, man, wonder if they're gonna stay loyal to us. No critical analysis. So this is why I said in my tweet, Ice Cube tried to warn y'all. And Ice Cube was attacked for it.
Yeah. Viciously, like they came after him, man.
I will never forget that. Like, I'm sure some of you guys who follow media and politics probably remember that. But especially
I had a rant.
Twitter. If you're on Twitter, there's no way you didn't. He was training for days.
I had a rant, man. I had a rant segment, and I was real pissed. That's when I had changed my whole freaking profile. I was like, if what Ice Cube is doing is a problem, if lefties have a problem with that, then maybe I'm not a lefty. That was the segment. I was like, this is bullshit right here.
That. Believe it or not, I do remember that because I followed your work for a while before
tweet too. It went kind of viral. Yeah, I remember. But go ahead, man.
I'm gonna pull up the article. If you guys don't know, just in case you don't know, Ice Cube pretty much was demanding, like, why he was asking the question, like, why don't we have a black agenda? Why are we keep voting for Democrats over and over without agenda? And then immediately liberals did Oppo research. Like, that's the first thing they did. They're like, dude, look at this tweet. This is what Ice Cube said about Jews 10 years ago. Look at these quotes he said a long time ago. But it's like, are you going to address his point? And then they also said Ice Cube is enabling Trump. Ice is a secret Trumpist. Even though what he was saying is that we shouldn't vote for either one until we get a black agenda. And this is one headline. I probably should have found a video, but it's mostly a side point. Ice Cube demands politicians sign contract with Black America before getting support of black vote. This is what had him. Look, this is August 2020, before the election. He said, And when I remember when he said this, I'm like, man, I remember I have no expectation of celebrities. I just said, man,
Yeah.
base take. I don't know if Ice Cube's based at all. I just said this take he has is based on. I don't know him that well. Like, man, he's definitely.
Well, the thing is, this is the thing
ahead.
about any almost any. I'm not gonna say except maybe some excluding some black conservatives, but even when you move up in class, you still there's still trauma that you may have experienced where you can still reflect on and still identify, but you still choose your class. You get what I'm saying? Like they can still identify a problem. That's why they come on these shows. That's why they bring them on, because they know you can articulate what black people want to hear, but we know you're a sellout and you're going to tell them to come back. And that's essentially why they put these people up there to do that. And I remember when this came out with Ice Cube, the reaction to it, man. And I did a tweet thread back when I used to do tweet threads. I don't really tweet no more.
Look at when this
man, it was no joke. Yeah, it was no joke.
Look, and see, John, when you continue, but look, you see how he started criticizing Democrats this 2020. Ice Cube criticized for posting string of anti-Semitic images. This is when they start going after him real hard. And I remember they got upset at Ice Cube and they call him anti-Semitic because he mentioned something about like black Israelites or something like that. And people get really upset when you mention that. I'm like, this is another religion. Like, why you get upset when black people say that black Jews were the first Jews? And whenever people say that, people get really fucking upset. It may have been actually I may be getting I actually mean I need to be careful. I think I might be mistaken with the basketball player actually. Was it Kyrie Irving that said it or Ice Cube? But anyway, Ice Cube was. I
didn't know. No, he both of them kind of alluded to it. Kyrie Irving retweeted something. Kyrie Irving didn't say it, but he talked about black Israelites. So I mean,
but they will get very upset.
It's so hard for them to accept. It's so hard for them to accept. The oldest skeleton has been found in Africa. I don't understand why this is so hard for you to accept. Like the oldest shit has been found in Africa. All these different animals have been found in Africa. Like all these resources, all the countries they all know this, Nick. I don't understand. What is the problem here? People who live in Africa in a hot climate have dark skin. What is the problem? Because of the sun. Like it's so maddening to me that we're this like scientists. This has already been proven. This is the cradle of civilization started in Africa. No matter what the movie Tarzan tell you, there wasn't white people swinging from the freaking jungle. It wasn't happening. Stop! Stop this, man.
I mean, what
this is so silly.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And my point is, and it's the double standard because there's many black celebrities and many other people. They are called anti-Semitic for pushing this belief, but are Christians or Muslims considered anti-Semitic because they don't follow the Jewish God or whatever? Like this all to me just seemed like a difference in opinion, like difference in interpretation of religion. But only black people are called anti-Semitic for it. Like why are other religions not called anti-Semitic? Because they don't recognize their God. Like we have there's some black people who have a different interpretation of the religion, and they are attacked. It just that to me that don't make sense to me. I'm completely not religious shit. Don't make any sense to me at all, though. But I want to get back to
the story.
The point because here's the tweet. We'll get to the next story here soon. Because this is the new headline. This is in New York Times, and I want to make sure I cover this point because Ice Cube warned y'all and was attacked for it. I was attacked by white leftists for saying that. This is during the Voss debate and the divorce I had with the Bernie wing where many white, it was so unbelievable. So many of my supporters were calling out, like so many of these white leftists, like Nick, oh my God, Nick is supporting the right. Like you were voting for Jim Crow Joe, and you were smearing a black guy who refused. It's so unbelievable that these people was doing that. But anyway, I was attacked viciously for it because I was very, very vocal about it. Why the fuck are black people voting for Democrat when the Democrat Party has no black agenda? Caping for Jim Crow Joe showed the black community has no self-respect politically. Harsh, but has to be said. Because if you guys say it, and when my white friend said that, you guys would get in trouble. And he probably would deserve it. But I can say it because that's true. You guys, vote for Jim Crow Joe. And they continue to do it after these articles are continuing to be written. Now they're frustrated again. And I cannot emphasize enough. I'll see if I can find a Jamu's response. And you see my feed is still black leftists like, yeah, fuck, this article's on your point is true, right? Meanwhile, I continue to I'll find Jama's tweet later. Damn, this is. Oh, I think he replied to to this one. I know where it is, so I'll find it here soon. But anyway, this is the point I want to continue to make. Not only does the Democratic Party have no black agenda, because that is how this article is framed. Despite the headline, the sub headline, this article is actually not even that radical. You guys understand? This is reformist complaints. Like they're complaining about voting rights and all this Democrat bullshit, right? But I said no. What people don't understand is not only that they have no black agenda. That would be one thing. But it's not only just that. The thesis of RBN, of Nick Cruz, is that the Democratic Party is aggressively anti-black. What me and Nico House said, the progressive left rallied support of people behind one of the most racist, destructive politicians in the modern era. And we're supposed to look past that? That is a ridiculous thing to ask of us. It's a ridiculous thing to ask of me and CJ. It's ridiculous to ask of Rome. Ridiculous to ask of JB. For us to just be okay with you guys being okay, shilling for these destructive maniacs. So I'm going to continue. Because I gave examples. Because when you come out that hot, you got to give examples. Biden took COVID relief funds, sent it to the police. Can you imagine if Trump did that? I always harp that point because no one brings it up because that's such a damning omission. Because remember, the liberals was the authoritarian lockdown leftists that said, we care about you guys getting taken care of because of COVID. We are doing this because we care for you. We implementing mandates because we care for you. We want to spend COVID funds because we care about you. And after getting political capital, pretending that they care for you, they didn't take that money and give it to the police. Why do people not talk about that more? That's crazy that they did that. And they openly talk about it. Biden said, we actually for funding police more because we send COVID relief funds to the police. The Republicans don't want to do that, so the Republicans are for defunding the police. That's the argument the Democrats make. Bernie like, man, the progressive movement got to get on board with this shit. And you guys wonder why we got the disdain we have. I'm going to continue. I'm almost done. I know I'm going to go a little long here. It's time for us to stop. It's time for us to stop being afraid and have the conversation that is long overdue. And it was my first article I wrote. The first article I wrote was called "Reject Barack Obama, Embrace MLK," and I said how black boomers embrace neoliberalism. How many of our black elders abandoned the black radical tradition and sold young black people out to the Democratic Party and the police state? Jim Clyburn and all his supporters, Eric Adams and all his supporters. Are we gonna keep ignoring this giant political problem that white people can't talk about? If a white leftist talks about this, Black Twitter will find a fucking business. So guess who got saved? This giant political problem that I noticed my entire life to the point before I started a YouTube channel, the first thing I did politically was write a Substack about this because it's so destructive to our community that I can talk about this all fucking day. But no one in the black community want to talk about it, CJ, because it's civility politics. You don't want to be mean to the black boomers who sold us out. And the black boomers who didn't, we're not talking about you. Mark Kimberly, which I said she need to be boosted. A John Brock who maintained his revolutionary spirit. And countless others. Let me get to the last part. There's so much to say about this. And this is the article. I had to show you guys a screenshot because it's from New York Times. If you guys want to check it out, if you guys can get past the pay the block, whatever. And I said, for those who don't know, and I'll show you guys this throughout the segment, this story is written every fucking election. Every election, ever since I followed politics, I have seen this story. Then black people suck it up and continue to vote for their oppressor. And honestly, it's so pathetic. This is Jamu. I'm going to reply to this part. And I want to show this is Jamu, one of the black elders that have been leading the fucking way. That despite the pushback that he got from his own generation, that him, Mark Kimberly, Dr. Cornel West, and others got from the generation, they held their head high and continued to fight. Jamu was a real one. He was calling out Barack Obama when it was devastatingly unpopular in our community.
Yeah.
You think Ajamu couldn't have made? Do you think Mark Kimberly couldn't have made a capitalist calculation and said, "Man, we got to establish a journalist. The best thing we could do is say, oh, Barack Obama's not that bad, and we can grow our subscriber base." Do you guys know how big Black Agenda Report could have been if they sold out to the Democrat Barack Obama machine? But they didn't. In fact, it took a ton of blowback from these sold out boomers. So you're Ajamu. Even this article tries to steer the conversation away from class-based issues that working class Black folks really care about, and which both parties are unable or unwilling to address. Where are the reformist policies of Build Back Better that Democrats promised? Absolutely. Well said, Ajamu. And what else? I think I said everything I need to say on this segment. CJ, anything you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, I want to wrap on this because this is why I feel one of the top jobs why I feel like RBN needs to we need to cut off as much as we can, as much influence that we have as possible, turn it up and cutting off the choke point of these new Black voters into this. Like, no, the Democratic Party, I'm going to my kinfolk, my cousins' kids, who, the cousins that I grew up with, even the one that was killed, like his sons, and hey man, like Democratic Party is not your friend. That's what we need to be doing in these communities. I'm actually going to be going to a concerned Black fathers of one of the local school districts around here. I'm gonna be doing that this weekend to kind of reach out to some Black people, get some contact, some Black men in particular. This is a Black men event, Black fathers of the Cerritos or the Long Beach school district.
We got so much good stuff going on this year, man.
Yeah.
Because, I want to work with obviously the Black Caucus of the Green Party and other people. Like we need to get Black people out of the Democratic Party. I'm showing you guys a tweet I said a long time ago. It's like my mission statement. Like, bro, my number one goal. I tell you, after Super Tuesday, I will just rage tweets. I will just rage tweets. I said I promise the fucking God, my number one goal is to get as many Black people out of the fucking party as possible. I still remember that first tweet. That was like my declaration. But this
and our comrades in other communities, that develop a strategy of how to get the Democratic Party out of your community. So whether that's the LGBTQ plus community, you want to get them out, whatever community you feel like they shouldn't be in, just using your likeness to get people to vote for them. Join us. You know what you need to do to kind of focus on your own community. So everybody focus on their particular community that's targeted, and we can come together as a group to break this hold that this terrible party has on people. Yeah,
and for the sake of the segment, I found the video, so I actually want to include it for the segment.
Okay, go ahead.
So let's just play the video. We don't have to interrupt it many times because we already did a lot of discussion. Unless you want to, feel free.
No. I've seen this a million times.
I'm gonna play it for it because I think it goes well with the segment. So let's play it and then we can wrap it.
Yo, what's up? This your homie Ice Cube. Here to talk to my Black folks. I just want to be straight up because there's a lot of messages going out about this election. First and foremost, anybody telling you that you gotta vote, that it's your duty, that you have to exercise the right, and that people died for you to vote. For one, people did die, but nobody walked out their house to go die for you to vote. They were killed by probably some racists that don't want to see us get anything.
Or cop. Which is the same.
But I'm saying that to say this. Be skeptical of anybody telling you to vote and not telling you to ask for anything or to tell you to just vote and not to get anything.
Grow up, Ice Cube. That what Crystal was saying.
That's not how it works. That's not the process. You don't vote just to vote. You vote because you're getting something or your community is getting something. So everybody that's telling you that, man, look at them and say, what are you getting? Because people that just want you to vote and not ask for nothing,
Bernie Sanders,
people that's in power that want you to vote but don't want you
Word.
to get anything or not asking for you to get
Ilhan
anything
Omar,
economically, they suspect.
Ilhan Omar,
Straight
Jamal
up.
Bowman.
Because a lot of people been in place for a long time and we ain't got shit. That shit gonna end. That shit gonna end. We gonna get what we supposed to get. Period. And anybody asking you not to ask, I wouldn't listen to them. Because that's the process. Every community asks for what they want. And we gonna do the same goddamn thing.
Yeah.
No, that's just a great way to end the segment. CJ, I'll pass it to you for announcements.
Yes, sir. Love Ice Cube. If you guys find that actual video, the one he put out, you'll go to the retweets, quote tweets, and you'll find my angry rant tweet because
we might have to play that as an intro one day. Go old school.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so a couple of announcements. Hit that like button. We're at 350 people watching. The Epstein story is coming up in just a moment, but I do want to squeeze in about a 3-minute headline. I just want to get your reaction. Yeah, I want to get your reaction. So everybody hit that like.
Let me do test first, CJ. You mind?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead. Oh, you mean before the story or now?
Yeah, you mind if I do it real quick? So we don't.
Yeah, no, go ahead, dude.
Let's do super test real quick, and I'll pass to you. Thanks for $11. Jesse Sanders, you were the only ones calling out the squad when everyone else was simping. I will also give a shout out to Fiorella Isabel, Comrade Misty, Nico House, obviously Jimmy, of course. I won't say I was the only one, but I appreciate the shout out. And you know, these are the people that take the most heat. Mm-hmm. Our heat is relative to our size. You guys see the nuclear heat that Jimmy gets. Nuclear heat they get because he was one of the first ones that was like, man, fuck Bernie Sanders, and that shook the Bernie industrial complex to their core. And then remember, CJ, during that time, remember a lot of people that were following, they're like, well, you guys cancel Jimmy Dore. I was on Jimmy Dore for the first time. They're like, Nick, how dare you do this to us? That's when you followed me. When I was on Jimmy Dore show, that was it. They saw my criticism of Bernie Squad, and few of them stuck with me. Then I went on Jimmy's show. That was it. They was like, that's it. Crossed the red line. And that's why, because it's criticism of Bernie Squad, and no one can convince me otherwise. No one can convince me otherwise. They bring up other shit. Jimmy got a burner account. Jimmy's COVID takes. I don't give a fuck, guys. That's what it is. It's literally because he was one of the first people to criticize Bernie. That's why they hate him, and they work backward from the conclusion. Let's continue. This another one from Jesse Sanders. The older I get, the more I realize how so-called radicals are the only ones trying to get the shit show that is America all the way together. Exactly. Bree could be using her platform to do so much. Thank you for the $10. Jesse, yeah, we are the ones who are trying to prevent things from getting really bad. Then people don't listen to it. They be like, oh my God, you guys are alarmists. You guys are alarmists. And this shit gets bad. And like, oh my God, what's happening? Black wealth tank. What's happening? If only I knew. People like Black Agenda Report, John Moon and Mario Kimberly was warning the Black community for years. And people wonder why shit is the way it is. Like our boy Q said, like people think that things are random, but our material reality is always the product of our system. And capitalism, when you think shit is random, no, everything is by design. Trust me. Thank for the $11, Hobbs. They're trying to hide fascism behind the black skin, blackism. I would just call it black capitalism. We can just keep it simple. That way, keep it simple. But I like the sentiment. Thank for 499, Zach. Everyone accused Noam advocating starving children and family of people who refused Noam preferred experimental medical procedure. It was that simple. And remember, I had an interview with Holly Hawkins where I asked him that straight up. And I'm like, will you have no sympathy for, like, imagine if a single mom refused to take the vaccine and she was fired. Like, were you not worried how she would be able to feed her kids over that? Because that's why I oppose mandates, right? And he was like, nope, don't care. The fuck? You guys don't give a fuck about kids and mothers starving for defending big pharma. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah, he didn't care at all. That was a bad interview. He looked terrible in that interview. Man.
ACLU, everyone on the left switched their position on mandates. And I was on Jimmy Dore show and I explained why I oppose mandates. It's the same reason you heard Richard Wolff explain why he opposed mandates. It was aggressively anti-working class. And I talked to people apolitical, including my mom. I want to say that because she told me one time because she had a friend who lost her job because she wouldn't take the vaccine. My mom, I told you guys all the time, she's apolitical as fuck. Okay? Even she was like, dude, I think it's fucked up that they firing people because of this vaccine stuff. Like, people know that shit is inherently wrong. Yeah. What the fuck is wrong with people for advocating for that? And now a lot of people try backpedaling now. Anyway, we're on YouTube, so we gotta be careful.
Yeah, we gotta be careful.
Whenever last time I was on Jimmy's show, I told him, like, man, it's good I can do the show. I can say shit that we.
Yeah, you get to say more on his. Yeah, you get to say more.
So it's always very cathartic when I get to actually talk about that nonsense. But thank you for a very, very generous super chat. Give a W. Give a big shout out to Marilyn Kelly. Give us some love in the chat.
Awesome.
Thank you for $100.
Thank you so much.
That helps our channel a lot. We appreciate it, Kelly. Give her some love in the chat. One more that I saw. Any other ones we saved for the end of the show? This is another one for Janet. Thank you for $5. And you will be correct with your argument about the Dems being anti-black and lately anti-women. They only care until your vote. See, you guys, I made the argument that Dems are anti-black because I'm black. It really lands with me, bruh. You can make the argument they anti-Latino, anti-Muslim, There's so many arguments you can make. I stick with my strong suit because that's how I'm very, very persuasive. But I swear to God, like, if you can make the argument from so many. Imagine if you Palestinian, bro. If I was Palestinian, I'll be going ham, and they do. The Palestinian Community Network, this idea that you support Zionists to the Palestinian Community Network was absurd. People think I was being hard on Marianne Williamson. Do you guys remember the Anti-Imperialist Summit? Yeah. And I asked them the question for educational purposes. I said, what would you say to people who support the two-state solution? They're like, fuck kind of question? No, what were you talking about? It's not a.
I would love for the Palestinian Community Network to interview Marianne Williamson with them knowing she's a Zionist. I would love to see that interview.
Actually, she was on fire. You guys need to go back to the Anti-Imperialist Summit and check the panel that I did with the Palestinian Community Network. You guys think I am a hard ass on Israel-Palestine? I got that because I talked to other Palestinians, and it was like, Nick, when, you say that there's and they said it during the conversation. You said that it's an apartheid state. Kind of too easy, Nick. It's not part of that state. You're legitimizing what they have, what they're doing. You should say they are actually committing a genocide on our people. I was like, hey, that's what they say, that the Palestinians say, and that's why I changed my language. CJ, you probably know. That's why I don't even. Right. I always say there's a genocide going on because that's coming from the Palestinian people, and we can observe that. Unlike the Uyghurs in China, where there's no bodies, no fucking video footage. There's video footage of Palestinians getting their ass beat every day. No footage at all the Uyghur in China, but people push that nonstop bullshit. Anyway, thanks for $9.99. I'm gonna do a panel. I keep saying it, but I need to get Danny, Mark, him. I'm gonna give Q. We talked about it before with Q, but I need to do a super panel debunking that nonsense because you still hear people repeat it. You still hear progressive Khanna and them repeating State Department garbage. So many independent third-party people check the condition of the Uyghurs in China, and they said, bro, how can you classify this as a genocide? Classifying their discontent with the government, because to be clear, there are some Uyghur Muslims who are discontent with the Chinese government, but there are black people discontent with the U.S. government. So is there a genocide of black people in the United States because we're not 100% happy with our conditions? Right. Think, guys, think. That's what people say. Uyghurs upset. There's a genocide. You're loosening what a genocide is. Genocide is what happened to the Palestinians. It's what happened to the Yemeni people. How many Uyghur children have you seen looking like Yemeni children? Don't worry, I'll wait. Don't worry, I'll wait for the link. I'll wait. You're not going to find it. In fact, they're thriving. In fact, their literacy rate is going up. In fact, their quality of life is higher than Black Americans. So as I said on this podcast with these white right-wingers, blew their
I
mind
remember
because they remember it. I was like,
that.
if you're gonna say there's a genocide of Uyghur Muslims, you gotta say there's a genocide of Black Americans in this country because we got the same conditions. In fact, they're better off. You guys understand? Anyway, I can run on that all day.
Yeah.
Actually, the last super chat highlighted it. And I
Go
passed
ahead.
to you. This be our last story. I know you got you, or you can do two more because I know you got to leave.
Yeah, it'll be. I'm gonna squeeze in two because I got it. Where I can do it really quick. Yeah, it'll be.
Yeah, I went pretty long, so you can do the last two. Thank you for the 999, Zach. As a social democrat, I love hearing what you guys have to say. Big props to Zach. Then very intellectually curious, which we need more of. Even if I don't agree, you pushed me left on some things. That's my only goal. Tell you guys, I'm just an agitator trying to grab as many people to the left as possible.
Yeah. And I think RBN does that. Oh, I'm sorry. Finish that and I'll say my comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, the MMA community, don't get me started. I did so many rants on it. Jorge Masvidal decrying socialism. Joe Rogan doesn't push back. Of course, they class loyal. Jorge Masvidal is extremely rich. They get extremely rich and they start decrying socialism. People wonder what the fuck is happening. When you look at the Cuban government, and this is what Jorge Masvidal, and I got look. I remember this because I followed the MMA. I remember him coming with these comments. I remember the other woman champ. She also said some shit about China as well. Just fucking ignorance. He's a light-skinned guy. He mentioned how, oh my God, there's all these white Cubans in Florida. They are class traders. We asked the Cuban people, they have high approval of their government, and they have Fidel Castro was extremely popular to the point that American politicians will never reach. Will politicians ever get 100% support? Grow up. They're not realistic. That never fucking happens anywhere. Of course, there will be people upset, but when you look at popularity, Fidel Castro destroyed any U.S. politician because he created a situation where Cuba has a higher literacy rate, a better healthcare system than the United States, despite a Cuban embargo. That's a massive accomplishment, no matter how much capitalists want to cope about it. But anyway, I'm a spirit. I want to give CJ some time to cover it because I can go on this all day. Maybe I should bring the clips so I can have fresh. I may do it one day. That's actually a pretty good suggestion, Zach. I appreciate it. So, CJ, I'll pass to you.
Yeah. One more shout out for our likes. We're at about a 250 close. Can we get another 100? Get to 350 on there. And then a couple of things. You're going to need our email and our Substack. Our Substack is here. If you want to know when we go live, you want to know next time we do the post-duopoly show that we did, the joint show we did with Due Dissidence and Heartlands Media. Join our Substack to get those notifications. We're approaching 34,000, so welcome everybody that is brand new. And don't forget, we're having our fundraiser for our labor. Make sure our labor is paid fair labor value. Right now the goal is $100. You can go on our GoFundMe that's scrolling down at the bottom and donate and see your name up in lights there. All right, so let's get to this quick story. And this first story, and we're going to end with the Noam Chomsky. It's also going to be quick because it's just receipts for Noam Chomsky. But this first, let me see here. This first story I want to show you. Let me give you the headline first. This one here. So, and so what we have here, and I hope you can see the headline. What we have here is U.S. influence for sale. So retired U.S. officers marching into work for foreign governments. And we're not talking about, some low-level sort of officer. We're talking about generals and admirals. And let me read a little bit of this story here. It says, DOD laundry list exposes how much money is on offer for military brass to cash in on their connections and influence. So we have these military people who, who are making money and funneling money to weapons contractors and murdering millions of people all over the planet. And then when they retire, Nick, then they go to those same countries that we had some conflicts in and actually sell their influence back. It is truly a cesspool.
Do you guys see how this is related to capitalism? You guys see how it related to capitalism and it's all related based on capital and maintaining the power for that class. You guys see it's all one big club. They all control everything. They control the media. They control the politicians. They had the private sector on lock. They had the public sector on lock. They have foreign. They send people who are what's the term I'm looking for? Diplomats. They give diplomatic jobs. You ever see anyone who like the French diplomat, the South Korean diplomat, Brazil diplomat? Guys, those are the most corrupt motherfuckers, and they got that job because they're part of the rotating, never-ending rotating cycle of a government job, private sector job, vice versa. So,
like what you see here, like you see here with people like Jen Psaki, and it's truly disgusting.
Yeah, exactly.
But this really surprised me, Nick. I gotta be honest. Like once I read it, it's not shocking, but I was just like, wow, these fools are just really doing this shit out in the open. Don't even care. Absolutely. So let me read. It's about 2 paragraphs, and then we're gonna move to the Epstein story. Like I said, this is a very short segment. Members of Congress have obtained a list of former military officers who have done paid work for foreign governments since 2012. It may be a surprise or not that the list includes 77. You guys hear that? 77 senior officers, generals, and admirals, and that the countries that employ them represent some of the most repressive governments in the world. In quotes, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, EAE. UAE. Sorry, I said it backwards. Senator Elizabeth Warren and Charles Grassley requested the information from the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and the list was included in a broader memo of responses to their questions relating to the activities of retired officers. According to the OSD, there were 450 notifications of employment for foreign governments, Nick, from 2012 to 2022. That's a 10-year period. Crazy. Of them, 12 were denied. So of the 412, only 12 were denied. 21 were administratively closed or withdrawn, and 11 were pending state or DOD approval. And now this last paragraph here, the top country of employment, the UAE, of the 47 different nations listed in the report, more than half of the approvals were for work with the Emirates, either with the country directly or with contractors working on behalf of the country. Of the total UAE jobs, only 32 disclosed their compensation. Only 35 disclosed their compensation. The remaining 185 are listed as non-available or non-reported. So these niggas is raking in money, Nick. These people are raking in money. And I'll just shout out some of the names. I won't read them, but some of the names of the people who are listed, like here, General Charles J. Dunlap Jr. received 8 separate approvals. That's one of them. And then here's another one, and there's some including for countries like Canada, Denmark, Israel, to get influence from Israel. Look at that. Now you see how Israel is so powerful. And then you have NSA head General Keith Alexander as another one. And he had influence, or he was seeking influence for Singapore, Saudi Arabia again popping up in one with Japan. So this is the influence that our former, the people that we want to give praise to served our country, Nick. They're certainly serving our country by selling influence to other countries. Go ahead. Your word.
We don't know. Like, people have no idea how corrupt our system is. And as I mentioned many times before, is by design. Like, capitalists not going to give it their own power. So they're going to give it to their own friends. They're going to give it to people in their own class interests. That's how they have control of all the government jobs. Then they get the lobbying jobs, and they also on the board of companies who donate to the politicians, who donate to the media, who then give them favorable coverage. when people say the United States is kind of corrupt, it's like, bro, that's an understatement. Russia, China, no one has anything on us. We just talking about one industry. Like you can dive into the corruption in Hollywood. Like, you can dive into corruption in so many different industries in this country. All of them are shady. All of them are shady. But we mentioned before, like wage theft. When you look at wage theft, the biggest cause of working class losing money, that and civil asset forfeiture, and the state taking their money. But somehow our state convinced you to be afraid of your neighbor, even though the fucking government and capitalists that run corporations are stealing money, stealing hella money out of y'all from y'all. But y'all worried about the black guy in the hoodie. Y'all worried
You
about.
know how good we could live as a nation, every single person, if our money was spent on us, Nick. Imagine what is the military budget? 800 billion or something like that. I forget the number. Approaching. Imagine 800 billion spent on us. Homelessness wiped out. Hunger wiped out. Like these things are literally wiped out. Then we're getting healthcare completely free, point of sale, no monthly payments, nothing point of sale, everything covered, no percentages, all of this is gone if money was spent on us.
Even if the black capitalist class stop stealing the labor value of their black workers, can you imagine what would happen? Mm-hmm. Once again, Marxist analysis have so many people are mixing. Like we don't even have to ask for a fairy tale. Well, I guess it kind of is, right? But it's not even like asking the government to improve our community. This self-determination, and we demanded our labor value be paid fairly, and we demanded a more social approach to our own communities, right? That would do a ton. People, and this is the thing that Democrats always lean to. They said we got a black agenda. We invested some bullshit amount into black community businesses, the same businesses that exploit and take advantage of the labor of black communities, the same as white capitalists do. And another point is like if you look at Oprah, LeBron, so many like Michael Jordan, Dr. Dre, like there's countless of these black billionaires. I'm not talking about 100 millionaires, like billionaires. Then there's black business people that doing jack shit. They got write-offs, top-down organizations that have done exactly what for our communities? Nothing. Can you imagine if they wasn't class loyal? I guess that's kind of fantasy because class interest.
It's a fantasy.
Anyway, TJ, I pass to you.
Yeah, man. But sometimes I do sit and just ponder, like, man, only if. But let's go ahead and slide right into the
only if they didn't kill our damn leaders, man.
Yes.
Only if they didn't kill.
Could you imagine the Civil Rights Act being the step one, Nick, of of other legislation?
Violence is never the answer, though. But they kill all motherfucking leaders. Kill all leaders,
but they're killing y'all, motherfuckers.
How dare you, violent black people, kill all motherfucking leaders? Fuck out of here. Go ahead,
all right, so let's get to this Noam Chomsky. Is that how you say it? Noam Chomsky story. And I got to be honest with you. Like, I don't personally like I'm not a Noam Chomsky guy. Like, I'm not a person that follows him. I don't really know him that much. I don't. You know what I mean? I'm just basically saying I'm able to look at this story unbiasedly. I've never had a particular way or not on Noam.
Can I say this, CJ? Can I say this?
Yeah,
CJ?
go ahead.
No one can deny the impact of manufactured consent, right?
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant work. Upholds the test of time. But if you haven't outgrown Chomsky, man, you need to outgrow Chomsky. Like Chomsky, and you cannot deny the impact that he had during an extremely right-wing time, during the Reagan era, during the Nixon era, debating the Vietnam War. Like these are very important things. But we need to evolve from those things that those ideas he implemented. Noam Chomsky, just like Bernie Sanders, there's no doubt that they fell off. Like they get older and they get intellectually lazy. And there's some people that write Noam all the way off. And I see someone in the comments, I 100% agree. Michael Prenti always was the superior intellect. Noam Chomsky always had some problematic anti-communist takes. But his critiques of the U.S. empire was always solid. But he always had this Western chauvinist underlying anti-communist take that was ripped apart by many communist thinkers. Michael Prendy always had a much better overall geopolitical analysis, but he was good on some issues. But when you see him call Medicare for All candy, and he wasn't supportive of forced to vote, supportive of mandates, supportive of starving families, like there were so many things he got recently wrong. Like, man, I'm glad he set the foundation, but we need to move past him. Good news is, once again, Noam like everything is. He's not a black and white guy. I feel like people black and white. He's really not. Like, to me, and this is my personal opinion, he's a very complicated guy. He getting the Ukraine take really well. Like he was one of the people that covered Ukraine for some time. CJ wrote about it, explained how NATO encroachment was going to endanger Europe and lead to global war. These are things that Chomsky used to write about. He used to be very vocal about these things. So then the Ukraine war conflict came up. He was like, hold on, I know I've been fucking up on some other shit, but y'all not about to make me take an L on this subject. Actually, I've been really good on this subject. I can't take an L on this one. So Chomsky is a very not a black and white guy. He's not a black and white guy. Has some very good takes. He's very important.
You mean he's human? You mean he's human? That's what you mean.
But I do have some very strong criticism of him.
Right.
And I think if you're a Marxist, you should have been past him. Like if you're like a social democrat, like they still idolize Noam Chomsky. If you're a Marxist, you should have been way past Chomsky, to be 100% honest. So that's my take. I just want to do that as a prelude, and I'll pass to you. I'll let you to finish out.
Yeah. So let's get through some of this. It's not going to be long. This clip is only 2 minutes. We'll play it all the way through, and then we'll comment on it. This is just to kind of get the backstory for those that may not know the full backstory of what's going on. Rising did kind of briefly put this clip out on their Twitter.
Some people have wondered whether he was effectively protected for a long time by the very apparatus of the state or something like that.
Right. I mean, my take is that rich white guys are going to hang out. Elite white guys are going to hang out, and they might do weird stuff. And we know Jeffrey Epstein was likely someone who's doing weird stuff. A lot of people, I think, are surprised about Noam Chomsky because they're like, this is our guy. How could he ever do anything immoral? But Noam Chomsky is known for his critique of political systems, his critique of...
Say that again?
I don't watch the show, so let me know. Is she filling in for Brianna, or is like...
She is filling in for, is it Batcha? Is that how you say her name? Batcha?
Okay, whatever. We can keep
yeah, she's from TYT, if you don't know.
Okay.
She fills in for Nina Turner on Unbossed. She fills in
some people.
Yeah,
I see some people in the chat say she's from TYT.
Yeah, she's from TYT.
All right, I never heard of her, so let's.
I'm pretty sure she's a comedian because I've seen her in also sketches, like comedy sketches. So she must be an actress or comedian. I mean, that's So, but yeah, let's listen because she brings up Noam Chomsky. She's a professional managerial class. She's they heavily love Chomsky, and this is hard for them. This is hard. So it's a bit of a cope, but like you said, Nick, like some people are good and bad, but this is a cope for her. They're coping with this Noam Chomsky news because of Epstein. So let's listen.
But Noam Chomsky is known for his critique of political systems, his critique of economic systems. And I think we can take someone's ideas in that regard and say, okay, he's made substantive contributions here, but maybe he's not a role model in terms of his personal life and who he keeps company with. He never wanted to be someone who was investigated for his private behaviors. And I think he's made that clear. And I think we can take those two things separately.
And I saw Aaron Mate talking about this on Twitter and saying that, Chomsky is a very old man at this point, and he was actually more curious about the revelations that he was meeting with Ehud Barak. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He was an Israeli leader. But anyway, I wonder how the Wall Street Journal got this information. Additionally, this is really great reporting. I think this is honestly like more detail than we've gotten kind of in the past. People have been really hungering for more Epstein information. Why don't we know the full scope of people he met with, the full scope of the client list, all of that. Now that this is, information that he was meeting with a lot of people. And as I was pointing out, after the initial conviction or the initial quasi incarceration or whatever his circumstance was for the sexual misconduct going back to the aughts. So what is the excuse? I can understand, I guess, people having an excuse. Everybody deserves due process,
right,
before he's brought to justice. But then financial people, the Gates, presidents of colleges, still palling around with him after he's done serving time for sexual misconduct with a minor.
Yeah, I think that's shocking. I think it's shocking that someone like Noam Chomsky would know his history and still show up. I think it's shocking that someone like William Burns, who's someone who's been kind of a darling of the elite.
I wouldn't say. I think it's less shocking that William Burns is on this. And now let me bring up the article. I think it's less. Oh, actually, it's the same place. I think it's less shocking. It's in my bookmarks. So a couple of tweets to kind of that allows us to kind of get through this story a little bit quicker. Let's look at a couple of tweets. So I do want to start with Max Blumenthal's tweet here. And what this is all about is Jeffrey Epstein's calendar. And let me read this tweet from Max Blumenthal. This is one of two tweets I'm going to read from him. Epstein or Jeffrey Epstein planned to, this is a quote, Jeffrey Epstein planned to fly with Noam Chomsky and his wife to have dinner with them and movie director Woody Allen, of course, Woody Allen, and his wife, Sunyi Praveen, the documents show. The manufacturing of consent suddenly takes on a new and much darker meaning. And we're going to get to this receipt here. I actually pulled up the calendar that Max links here, but let's go to this thread first. At approximately the same time Noam Chomsky was wagging his finger at the Palestinian-led BDS movement, he was meeting privately with, I think it's Ehud,
which is another giant L for Chomsky, by the way, when he was doing that. But there's so many people that say stupid shit like, and they get upset when you criticize Chomsky, just like the people who are the cult of Bernie Sanders. How dare you criticize Chomsky? How dare you criticize Bernie? These are massive, giant gaps that these people had to be held accountable on.
Yeah, I agree. And the name, I apologize for the name, Ehud Barak, among the worst war criminals in Israel's history, in Israeli history. Yeah. The meeting was brokered by Jeffrey Epstein, and I'll just pull up the receipt.
Jesus fucking Christ. I didn't see that part.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Israel boycott campaign risk backfiring, says Noam Chomsky. And this looks like a Guardian. I think that's also I think that name is from the Guardian, but I may be wrong. Mr. Barak also met with Epstein in 2015 with Mr. Chomsky, now 94, a linguistic professor and political activist who has been critical of capitalism in U.S. foreign policy. Mr. Chomsky said Epstein arranged a meeting with Mr. Barak for them to discuss, quote, Israel's policy with regard to Palestinian issues and the international arena, end quote. Mr. Barak said he often met with Epstein on trips to New York and was introduced to such people as Mr. Rama and Mr. Chomsky to discuss geopolitical and other topics. Quote, he often brought other interesting persons from art or culture, law and science, finance, diplomacy, or philanthropy, Mr. Barak said. And I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, but this is like you said, this is another giant L.
I'm gonna show, if you don't mind, I'll pass right back to you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna show Mark Kimbley's tweet because I saw hers earlier.
I got it right. Unless you have it up.
Oh, cool. Okay, I'll just put it up.
Go ahead.
Page there because she's on the same. She's on the same page as Max as well. I think it shines pretty well here. Margaret says Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad asset, but everyone knew that. What I didn't know until I perused Twitter today was that he met Noam Chomsky and introduced him to former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Also, Chomsky opposed BDS. Did that happen before or after?
Right.
Mark Kimbley, man, she got boy, can't nothing get past her. Now this is another one. The subtweet underneath. I knew Chomsky was a leftist gatekeeper for telling us to vote for Democrats every 4 years. But I'm also going to find, I didn't even mention that during my criticism. That's a giant. He also was telling people to vote for Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton. But we knew, don't listen to Noam Chomsky every 4 years during elections. She also says, but I'm also finding out that he supported the humanitarian interventions in Libya, Syria, Yugoslavia, giant L for Noam Chomsky. And this is why people like Michael Prentice is much better. Gerald Horn, much better. Like if you want an intellectual, there's so many different options. Glenn Ford, way better, right? Here, Steve, I pass back to you. I just want to share Margaret's on it.
Yeah, so let me go past this one, and that was that one. Now she also, Caitlin Johnstone also ran. She says Woody Allen, of course, Woody Allen is a scumbag. Jeffrey Epstein, look at this, Pat. Look at this Three's Company. What is this? This is like the Three Stooges. Woody Allen, Jeffrey Epstein, and Noam Chomsky go out to dinner. There's no punchline. That's what I was getting to. Like this is like a joke. She said there's no punchline, which is funny. Caitlin,
remember the criticism that we had of the professional managerial class quite some time ago. The criticism I have of Noam Chomsky, a lot of people thought was harsh. These people became rich critically analyzing the system. But how attached are they really? Like Chomsky, and what makes this really bad is you know these evil motherfuckers you're hanging around what they did. Why are you so okay? Why are you so okay telling people vote for someone you know how evil they are? And I give a lot of grace and lenience to people who fall for propaganda, who are not well informed, too busy to read up on shit. But you know what Joe Biden did, but you tell people to vote for him. You know what these disgusting oligarchs and war criminals in Israel have done to Palestinians, but you are okay with them? That's a giant character flaw as far as I'm concerned. I know that sounds harsh, but it is. It should be unacceptable. But CJ, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, let me read a little more, and we'll close in about 5 minutes or less here. Epstein's private calendar reveals prominent names, including CIA chief, Goldman's top lawyer. Schedules and emails detailed meetings in the years after he was convicted, a convicted sex offender. Visitors cite his wealth and connections. Nick, the question is that they knew this after, him being convicted. There's a lot more to Epstein, and this is what everybody's always talking about him. This is the reason why all these important people are involved with this person that they're all trying to keep a secret. And I'm scrolling all the way down because they talk about
Western quote unquote journalists not curious about this. Not curious about this at all. How many big journalists heard that bullshit story they're trying to sell us about Jeffrey Epstein hanging himself in a prison that's literally physically incapable? He literally was given nothing but paper, no equipment to hang himself, in a prison where the ceiling is low, where you can't physically kill yourself by hanging. Then the security camera went down, and the security guard for some reason went on break, and he killed himself. And people believe that shit. No journalist is interested in asking questions about this ridiculous story they tell us about Jeffrey Epstein. Anyway,
Nord Stream Pipeline, the same reason Nord Stream Pipeline. These journalists are running from these stories. Yes. It's so weird. Like, we don't want to see this shit. All right, so here's another snippet from the actual Wall Street Journal. Max Blumenthal somehow put this on where you can watch this. The articles, he knows it's ad block, so he made it to where a link where everybody can go check this out. But anyway, it says Epstein arranged several meetings in 2015 and 16 with Mr. Chomsky while he was a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. When asked about his relationship with Epstein, Mr. Chomsky replied in an email, quote, "First response is that it's none of your business or anyone's. Second is that I knew him and we met occasionally." In March 2015, Epstein scheduled a gathering with Mr. Chomsky and Harvard University professor Martin Nowak and other academics, according to the documents. Mr. Chomsky said they had several meetings at Mr. Nowak's Research Institute to discuss neuroscience and other topics. 2 months later, Epstein planned to fly with Mr. Chomsky and his wife to have dinner with them and movie director Woody Allen and his wife. The documents show, quote, if there was a flight, which I doubt, it would have been from Boston to New York 30 minutes, Mr. Chomsky said. Quote, I'm unaware of the principle that requires that I inform you about an evening spent with a great artist, end quote. Epstein donated at least $850,000 to MIT between 2002 and 2017 and more than $9.1 million to Harvard from 1998 to 2008. The schools have said in 2021, Harvard said it was sanctioning Mr. Nowak for violating university policies in dealing with Epstein and was shuttering a research center he ran that Epstein had funded. MIT said it was inappropriate to accept Epstein's gift, and it had later donated $850,000 to nonprofits supporting survivors of sexual abuse. And I'll stop here as far as the article and the segment. But is any of this surprising to you about? I mean, it is not really surprising to you about. I mean, I don't know if who this person really is, Epstein. I don't know if that's we're ever going to find out. But this guy, Nick, it's like he's like Bruce Wayne. So he just knows a bunch of people that are important and just has a connection. I don't get it. So, but go ahead.
It's a coincidence that this guy fucking knows everybody. He runs.
Yeah.
There was numbers put together, and they said that sex trafficking is up there, like near like the drug trade. Like it's like a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Wow.
Let me see if I can find. I'm gonna say sex trafficking, because I read about this a long time ago, and like whenever you talk about sex trafficking rings, people like, especially among the establishment-minded people, they think you're talking about conspiracy theories. It's like, no, you got like the industry is giant, and if you look at the amount of money and the logistics of human trafficking, it is not a poor person's crime. It is the crime of the ruling class. Well-connected people, well-connected, rich gangsters, and they're connected with governments, connected with wealthy capitalists, and they human traffic. It's not ordinary working capital. There's no way ordinary people can human. It's a giant multi-million dollar.
We're gonna book a flight on United. They're gonna book a flight on American Airlines. No, private jets. Who can afford private jets to do this, Nick? But the most rich people, Nick. You see what I'm saying? Like it's so corrupt. But we want to say, vote for Marianne Williamson. We're fixing all this shit.
God, I look, $150 billion industry. Hold on, let me share this because I wanted to make sure I fact check myself. Here it is. Because I remember I read about this a long time ago. And that's why it's always weird when people pretend that you've been conspiratorial. Like, where the fuck you guys think this? If you guys think elite capitalist sex trafficking ring is a conspiracy theory, where the fuck is this money coming from?
Right.
Human trafficking is $150 billion industry. That's not a working class industry. These are ran by our elites, the Jeffrey Epstein, and the countless amount of people that have not been caught. Epstein was the one who was caught. Who is naive enough to believe that Jeffrey Epstein was the biggest and the only sex trafficker out there? He's the one who got caught, guys. And they all well connected. We will never really know. We hope
we're never gonna know this story.
I hope that we get like a few deathbed confessions in the next few decades. Like, you never know. Like, maybe because we know shit about like leaders of the 1800s and the 1700s that they never knew, right? Like, maybe our kids would know some shit. Like, maybe some shit gonna come out where they're gonna do a true history shit and they're gonna talk about shit that we had no. Because if you like read, I'll tell you, I was a big history nerd. Like, if you read like history documentaries, like secrets about leaders will come out that people would never know about that was alive at the time. You know what I mean? Like in 2060, hoping that civilization is still alive. I'm sure it is. Humans are pretty resilient. What the fuck will we know about Hillary Clinton and all these people then? When people like, there's not the immediate pressure, there's still immediate danger to talk about it. When it's gone away after a while, like when it's more okay to talk about shit, there's gonna be more leaks. There's gonna be more people who had deathbed confessions. Like that's how we know about the CIA in the 70s, guys. There's so many like leakers, so many people that told stories afterwards. So maybe people are gonna tell stories about the 2000s.
So maybe somebody who's involved in this, who can get evidence, is cataloging this in for a deathbed like email to like all the mass emails and stuff like that. Hopefully that's what they're doing. But we can close it there and give some last comments so I can get out of here.
I think it's pretty good. We had one.
We had our viewership jump 100 just by doing this story. Like I said, this is a very popular story. Make sure you hit that like button since you're here. Get us to 400 likes. But people want to hear this story. We're hungry to know about Epstein because people know when they hear it, they go, oh, why does he know all these people? Like it's so bizarre. Yeah, and the people know like inherently there's something real fishy about this shit with Epstein.
And people know the media is long, because I love the story. I've been obsessed over it. So like the way the media and the corporate media, like in the establishment blue checks, the way they write about and cover Epstein is like, come on, man, it's just all coincidence. Epstein was just very popular for no reason. Oh man, they didn't know about this stuff. Not curious at all. And that's why this topic is popular, because people who watch it, even people who are not radical like us, they see their coverage of Epstein, they know it's bullshit too. Yeah, it's like, so they're like, man, they know they hide.
So they go like, why are you doing that? Why are you just telling it up? Like he's a sex trafficker, blah blah blah. Yeah. Oh, all these people are connected. William Burns, CIA. Like, why are all these people?
Dude, can you imagine? Can you imagine the Epstein trial, the Ghislaine Maxwell trial has got as much attention as the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp trial? There's always a new fucking trial they get a ton of attention to. The giant fucking trial happened and not a goddamn peep. The only people that were covering was like giant independent media people like Russell Brand and others. Like you find it there, you find it on like right wing radio and other stuff like that. But like the established quote unquote journalists for New York Times, Washington Post, CNN contributors, none of them was interested. I think that says a lot. So tomorrow, CJ, assume you don't have anything else. Andrew,
go ahead. What do we got coming up? Go ahead.
Andrew, my friend from our citizen journalist friend from Seattle, he'll be joining me once again at Nick and Now. You guys know him. He got amazing foreign policy analysis, especially regarding Mexico. Last time he was on, he did a great job explaining the political situation in Mexico. There's gonna be a lot more coverage. Andrew is like one of my favorite people to do streams with because he got a breadth of knowledge on stuff. So that's Nick at Night on Wednesday. CJ, I pass to you. Anything else you got to come out? Anything else you want to shout out? Make sure you guys support the Patreon, like, subscribe, help us continue to grow. Sabby did great, amazing on the ground journalism yesterday on May Day. The more our channel continue to grow, CJ about to do some great on the ground stuff. I have some plans as well. The more we continue to grow, the more we can expand the channel more than just commentary, building our chapters, do on the ground reporting. So that like the support that you guys give us actually is going through that kind of stuff. So any support through Patreon, GoFundMe, all that stuff actually very important. Much love to all you guys. CJ, I pass to you to send us out. Tomorrow night.
All right, Nick. All right, that's a good way to take us out. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out, and thank you again.